Thank you, AJ, for that, brother. I appreciate that. How y'all doing?
Great.
Great. My name is William Calloway. I'm a community organizer here from South Shore. I think AJ did a wonderful job. Let's give it up for him and
Yes.
in the name of William. Sister Yvette, thank you so much. You are so gracious. As you are kind, thank you again. Thank you for everybody for coming out. After the verdict came out, I know everybody was like, you gotta rest, and that was really important to me. But when Sister Yvette and Brother J. Michael Carr called me and told me they was doing this and that it was South Shore led, I felt obligated to come out and definitely share this moment with our sisters and brothers from the South Shore area. So I'm grateful for you all.
So what we want to do is, if anybody have any questions for Mr. Calloway, we're going to take some questions, comments.
Yeah, before we do that, I just really want to give honor to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I'm a firm believer in a higher power, and I subscribe to a higher power. His name is God and Jehovah, and his son is Jesus, or Yahshua, or Yahweh, however you want to call it. But I do subscribe to a higher power, and that is what I feel like I was led in this movement by. AJ said six years, and that's how long it's been since the death of Rekia Boyd. Say Rekia Boyd.
Rekia Boyd.
She was a black woman who was shot on the west side of Chicago by Dante Servin. She was shot in the head. We never received justice for her. I was in art school at the time. I'm a film major by trade, and I was creating a documentary. During the production of that documentary, I had the opportunity to meet her brother, Martinez Sutton. And he shared the story about how his sister was shot and killed by the Chicago police officer. At that moment, that is when I started to become active, if you will. After I met him, I started meeting more parents. Recently, one of the names that I started organizing around, say Dakota Bright.
Dakota Bright.
The Chicago Police Board just ruled his shooting that it was just. So he's one of his family and Rekia family are really the two families that sort of compelled me to get involved into activism. But I really want to thank Brandon Smith, who's a real good brother of mine. He's a journalist who, when I found out about the existence of Laquan McDonald videotape, I notified him about it. He's an independent journalist that specializes in the Freedom of Information Act. As you know, that's how we got Laquan tape out. He did great work for 7 months. We fought the city of Chicago. Ron Emanuel and his legal team fought us, and we fought back, and we won. And I think I'm grateful to that brother for believing in this. And what I said, I believe what was on the videotape and forcing the city to make it public. And I'm just grateful for everything. This has been it's been an intense journey. And I've been thinking about this for the past couple of weeks and praying. I'm just like, all the things that we had to go through, you know, a couple of my activist buddies out here tonight, Dante, Jedediah. He can't talk, but his phone can. It's been a journey. I'm grateful for it, and if I had to do it all over again, especially to give God glory, I would. And even I was just telling Sister Stamps that month that we was going to trial every day. I never been so scared in my life. And I remember having to wake up every day. I'm being transparent. It's something that most men don't do, but real men do.
The real men do. That's right.
I was waking up, I was so scared every day. And I had to wake up and I had to put on a face, not a face, I am who I am, but I had to be strong. I had to have courage for my community, for my city. and I had to have integrity. And they was putting out these ridiculous ideas that we was gonna loot and riot, and I had to maintain our composure, me, Jedediah, Demetrius Nash, Lita Clark, and we had to be strong and do that every day. But I'd be lying if I said I was waking up every day and I wasn't scared. Because I seen that we didn't get justice for Rekia Boyd. I seen that we didn't get justice for Mike Brown. We didn't get justice for Trayvon Martin. We didn't get justice for Tamir Rice. We didn't get justice for Lando Castile. And it goes on and on and on and on. But I just felt that we had to keep going. And I think I had a great support system. And it just wasn't Will Calloway. It was just so many more organizers and activists and advocates all across the city that do great work before me, during this process. It's not just me. And I really appreciate all of them. And I just really give honor to the man upstairs for this whole journey. It's been tough. It was intense. I think I quit activism at least like 50 times. A lot of you don't know that. I think I quit. I remember quitting like 3 times in one day. Like, man, I ain't doing this no more. But I just want to encourage anybody, if God put something on your heart, or the ancestors, or whatever you subscribe to, if you feel compelled, please do it. People thought I was crazy for dropping out of school. I dropped out of college to do this. I was working for Chicago, the Board of Education. I was a teacher assistant. I was making okay money, and I don't have any kids. I quit my job. I resigned to do this because I felt that's what God told me to do. And people thought I was crazy to do that. But I wanted to obey the voice that I was hearing, and that was tugging on my heart. So I obeyed that, and I just want to just encourage everybody else to continue to follow that voice that's on the inside of every one of us. And I think this was a monumental watershed moment for the city of Chicago. I think that hopefully this was inspirational to everybody across the country, that you can get justice, and you can get justice the right way. And you don't have to go out and act crazy and destroy your neighborhood and anything like that. We did it the right way. And I know the work is not done. We do have to focus on a lot of more things. Post-trial sentencing is one of them. We need to focus on the consent decree that's pending. We need to focus on the FOP contract, which is the Fraternal Order of Police contract. It's how the Chicago police maintain this culture of corruption. Fun fact, not so fun. If the police shoot one of us right now as a civilian, the police are given up to 72 hours before they have to give an account to what happened. So in the case of Laquan McDonald, when Jason Van Dyke shot Laquan, him and his fellow officers, they took that 72 hours to do what?
Pick a plan, scheme.
Exactly, to corroborate the police reports. These are one of the things that is problematic about the Fraternal Order of Police contract, the way they are able to maintain this culture. In addition to that, one of the things that hurt me the most is when Jason Van Dyke was initially charged, he sat about 3 or 4 days in the county. Then police president, FOP president, Dean Angelo, solicited donations from the union. They raised $150,000 to buy him out of jail through union membership. The police are what? Public workers, right? Where do public workers get their money from? Us, the taxpayers. So in hindsight, you took public money that we pay y'all with to bond this murderer out of jail. But there's nothing in their contract prohibiting that. And that's something that we have to focus on. It's a lot of more things I could discuss about the contract, but we ain't had time for that. But those are some of the things that we have to focus on. The officers who lied and falsified their police reports, they go on trial November 26th. Say November 26th.
November 26th.
We have to make sure that we're there. Justice for Laquan is not done yet because Jason Van Dyke has been convicted. We have to understand he has to be sentenced, an appropriate sentence. Anything less than, I don't want to put a number on it, but he has to have an appropriate sentence. The officers who lied, they need to be prosecuted and convicted and sent to jail. And then also, it was 48 aldermen that signed on to that settlement. That's right. That did not ask to see that video After the lawyer, the corporation counsel, Steve Patton, told them that a video existed and that this young man was walking away from the police and he was shot 16 times. Even after having this information, not one alderman asked to see this video. All the black ones voted yes. Every single black alderman voted yes for the settlement. Everyone, except the new ones that was just elected last election. But all those that's been there prior, they voted yes. So justice for Laquan is not done yet. This was a victory, I do agree. But we have this is a marathon and not a sprint. And we have to make sure that we channel in and focus on the end game and the end road. And I know together, not apart, together, we can do this all together, okay? And that's it.
My sister, do you want to come up and ask your question, or you going to be pretty loud with it?
So first of all, I want to commend you for your work. I mean, that was outstanding. The FOP they're determined to oppose the sentence, and they're going to repeal. What do you think the chances are that they'll be successful or not?
I think, that's his right, that's their right, and the defending right or the convicted right to appeal. That's his right to appeal. It's not really, at the end of the day, it's gonna come down to the appellate court. One thing I want people to focus on is a thing called victim impact statements. Say victim impact statements.
Victim impact statements.
And that's when you can talk about the impact that a certain case has had on you. What I want us to do, especially going into post-trial sentencing, is that we write letters to the judge, right, from a community perspective on how this case has impacted us and what appropriate sentencing should be. Because a lot of things is everybody wonders, is the 16 counts going to run concurrent or is it going to run consecutive? And that's the question. And that boils down, it's at the judge's discretion. But to answer your question, sister, the appeal, that's their right. Appeals can go either way. We don't know, but we have to fight.
Well, I guess my question was, do they have any strong points that could overturn the verdict?
Well, it depends on the judge. So Dan Herbert was Van Dyke's attorney, and during this process, he was trying to get a change of venue motion. That was denied. On some of his motions, he even referenced me in his motions, was saying that the activists were outside protesting. That's why a lot of people didn't see protests happen after the first or second day. That was sort of intentional, because he was saying that we was intimidating the jurors that was walking in to and fro, because the jurors were not sequestered. They had to come and walk past us. So he could use stuff like that to say that the jurors were being intimidated, that they convicted him because they didn't want to go back to their community where they had to see a lot of these activists and organizers. So it's stuff that he can use, but ultimately it's going to come down to the appellate courts on to see if it's actually just or not to appeal the decision. But I don't believe it will be. Wow.
Anybody else?
Hi, really good to see everybody here. So I've been looking at the trial, and I've been looking at the cases that are coming forward now. The video that was just released of the officer that just shot a young man who is autistic. And the thing that keeps striking me, and I'd like to know what your opinion about it is that the officers have the opportunity to get paid suspension. And it would seem that they should have suspension, and if they're found not guilty, then they can collect their back pay. But to continue paying them while they're in the midst of an arbitration or being suspended just doesn't seem fair. So your opinion, please.
I agree. So in the case of Dakota Bright, Brendan Turnan shot Dakota Bright. November, it's coming up on his anniversary, on November 8th, 2012. He shot Dakota Bright in the back of the head while he was running from Dakota. It wasn't until just recently when Sharon Fairley was in Emperor and Copa, we brought Dakota case back up to Emperor's attention, and Sharon reopened it and ruled it unjustified. At that moment, Eddie Johnson suspended Turn-In without pay. Legally, the superintendent has authority to suspend an officer up to 1 calendar year without pay. That's in the scope of his authority. But when he recommends that officer for termination, it goes in front of the police board. And then that 7 people, those 7 individuals who are appointed by the mayor, have to vote on disciplinary action. In the case of Brendan Turn-In, even though Copa, it's called Copa now, Copa and Eddie Johnson said that what Turn-In did was wrong, the police board voted, I think 5-3, if I'm not mistaken. 5-3, that what he did was okay. So in that case, he was given back pay from the time that he was suspended without pay. So he was suspended without pay. It would have made a year next month. He was suspended without pay. Now he gets that back pay now, and he gets placed back on active duty. So when it boils down to it, the superintendent, in all fairness, and I think Eddie, I know he came into a real tricky position when he accepted the job, and in all fairness, it's only so much that he can do. Okay, I'm gonna just say that it's only so much that he can do legally in his scope of his authority, and that's one of the things. He could suspend an officer up to 1 year, but when it's all said and done, it comes back to the police board. And if that police board rules it justified, then that officer would get he or she would get their back pay and get back reinstated.
So in the case of Officer Muhammad, who just shot, they just showed the film, he's on paid leave. No, he's on paid suspension right now. So would it be the same process?
That's at the superintendent discretion, and just for as a disclaimer, I didn't even know that even happened. I didn't even know that I didn't even know that shoot even took place last month. They sat on that tape for over a year. I didn't even know that shoot ever even happened until Copa called me yesterday and was like, a video coming out, just wanted to give you a heads up. And when they said August, I thought they meant this past summer, but it was August 2017. I had no idea that even took place, but clearly we seen that was an unjustified shooting, without a doubt. And Muhammad needs to not only be terminated, he needs to be unpaid suspended, but Kim Fox needs to press charges on him for what he did. That was completely uncalled for. But the contracts, the FOP contracts, that gives them union protection, so they cannot get suspended without pay. So that's why we have to attack. That's another reason why we have to attack the contract.
I just would like to say that we need to also pay attention to the police board vote. Who were the 5 people that went against Copa and the superintendent? Finally, we get that aligned, and then we end up with some people who say, oh no, it was okay. Okay, so we have to look at who are those 5 and who were the 3 that stood up for us to try to make this happen. Because sometimes we don't make people deal with repercussions for the things they do who purport to represent us.
That's good. So from my understanding, Dr. Adams, the president of the board, Guion Foreman, voted in favor to remove Turn-In, that he should be fired. Reverend Edie from the West Side, he voted in favor to remove Turn-In, and it was another person, I'm not sure who that was. But the only person I think that the community by name may be familiar with is Andrea Zopp. Andrea Zopp voted in favor to keep Turn-In on the force. So anything that she has going, we need to boycott it. We need to make sure that she feel our presence in the community. Because she's very problematic, and the other 4 that voted in favor to keep Turn-In on the force is problematic. And FYI, the superintendent has a certain amount of days to appeal the board's decisions. So I'm not sure how many days that is. I saw Superintendent Johnson yesterday, and we spoke about the matter. I'm gonna have to do a follow-up conversation with him, but he definitely should appeal that decision. Without a doubt.
All right, we're gonna take maybe one more question. You know, the brother, you don't wanna hold him, you don't wanna keep him, he done served us enough.
We got him down.
We gotta we wanna be mindful. Come on, sister.
How has this changed you when you think about who you were and what you believed in 6 years ago? What is the evolution of William Calloway?
That's my question.
Sister Stamps is a teacher, so let me make sure I formulate this in the right manner. Of course, my faith has increased, without a doubt. My faith has extremely increased. I always ask God to teach me to love like Him, and I think this situation has taught me how to love more, to love people, to forgive, and to really do the work how it should be done. Because I think a lot of times, especially in the activist world, we do work from an angry place. You know, this injustice happened to us. We have righteous indignation is good, but you have to make sure that you're grounded and anchored in love. And I think it taught me how to love and to just be a better lover of people. It's so many other things, man. I think I could really write a book on. This is some stuff, a lot of things people probably don't know that I experienced in my private life. The thing about being a leader is that you come across so many things that could probably hurt the movement. So because you have integrity, you have to protect other people. You have to protect the movement. And there's certain things that I had to humble myself and swallow for the movement's sake and to keep this fight going. And the biggest thing too was that it wasn't the white people that I felt like was my biggest opposition. It was black people in my own community. It was the people that I was literally trying to help that was giving me the most pushback, that was giving me the most critique, that was giving me the most hate, that was giving me just the most discouragement. It didn't come from the police. It didn't come from Mount Greenwood. It didn't come from the other white neighborhood. It came from black people. And I think when God showed me how to love despite that made me a better person. I like to think it made me a better leader, and I like to think it helped us get some tangible results. But there's so many things that helped me evolve in this fight in the past 6 years. But loving people, and despite of, and just having persistence, and just making sure that you just being devoted and dedicated to your assignment, whatever your assignment is, no matter how tough it looks, no matter how discouraged you may be, but just staying dedicated and focused to your assignment, whatever that is. Yes, sis.
Right there, Sister Bob.
Hey.
How are you? Thank you so much for coming to the court. My name is Angela.
Thank you for having me.
And I just had a question to follow up what you just said about the opposition. And I just wanted to know, just to balance out the conversation, what were the cons against your approach to see what were the people complaining about? What's the pushback? And how can we fix that?
I think a lot of times, it be a lot of times, like, I'm a real low-key guy. Like, I like being in the cut and just being chill. I like people and everything. But a lot of people, I think when you help people, and especially in this city, they think you have ulterior motives. You know what I'm saying? Oh, he just want to be famous. Oh, they just trying to get some money. Oh, he's just trying to do this. If it was up to me, I'd be in school and I'd be having a decent job. I ain't gonna do this.
But you had a car.
I don't have to deal with this. Like, people have no idea. Like, I got a family that I love. My mother, I got nephews and nieces. I got nephews and nieces that I only saw once or twice in the past 2 years for fighting for people that I barely even know. But that's the sacrifice. And I don't think people understand the level of sacrifice that really, because they just see you on the news, they just see you on social media, but they don't see the behind the scenes sacrifices that you have to give up. People don't know that I was sleeping in my car 2 days before we had to go down there and get that tape out. Before Judge Franklin Valderrama ruled on that tape, I was sleeping in my car. And I was ashamed because, oh my God, I know you told me to do this. Why I just get evicted? I quit my job, you know what I'm saying? I quit my job, all this, I get evicted. I'm too ashamed to ask for help. To say, you know? Because I don't want people to look at me crazy. But I know I'm hearing a voice. Now somebody say, you hearing voices. People think you're crazy. But I know what God told me to do. So I just think that just being obedient to that voice, and that's just one of the cons. It's so many other cons I'm probably not thinking of right now, but that's just one of them. And I just think just to push back from my own community, which is the Black community, and just we really have been seriously damaged. That we cannot trust people. That we cannot trust genuine help. And that's one of the worst things. I think that we really are damaged as people. That we can't be like, oh, he trying to help me. Oh, but he ain't, you know what I mean? To think that I don't want your money. I don't want your attention. I got enough love in my life. I don't need your attention. I don't need nobody else. You think that this is a game? Do you know it's people in the past that's been murdered for what we do?
Yes.
Do you know that? Do you know that Fred Hampton, they shot 50-something bullets in his house and shot him in front of his pregnant fiance? Do you know a lot of our leaders been slain for this? Do you think I don't walk around with the fruit of Islam or nobody? I walk with me and God. And my community is supposed to protect me. I shouldn't have to be scared in my own community. And that's the thing that I used to be frustrated about, because that's where the discouragement really lies. Why am I in